I, 18 male, found out that my father, 42 male, baby trapped my mother, 40 female, with me. I grew up thinking my mother had abandoned us. That is what they always told me. He told me my mother packed up and left us when I was 2 years old. I grew up to resent and hate her, mainly because I saw how my father was working super long hours to make ends meet. I hated how my grandma basically had to raise me. When I would ask her about my mother, my grandma painted a picture of a bitter, spiteful, hateful, spoiled, and entitled woman. I felt very justified in my anger and hate for her. That's what my family told me, and I had absolutely no reason to doubt them. A few weeks ago, I found her on social media, and I was so mad. She was out there living her best life. She is a chef in a Michelin star restaurant. She travels, has a huge apartment, and apparently is married to a gorgeous man. In a fit of rage, I DM'd her, cursing her out for abandoning me to live her frivolous life and that karma would come to her. She obviously saw it. Instead of going off on me, she just asked me to meet her and that she felt like I had a right to express my anger to her in person and that she owed me as much. I was starstruck because my father said she never stood for the consequences of her actions. Without telling anyone, I agreed. She invited me to this amazing restaurant. She paid an Uber for me and everything. It was all very awkward at the beginning. I kept berating her. I was so angry. I cried a little. She just sat there and took it all in. I then asked her why she abandoned me. She then asked, "Do you really want to know the whole story? It is not nice and you will not like it. I am ready to be the bad guy in your head forever and keep my distance." I just kept pressuring her, and then she told me the real story. She told me that my father and her shortly met before ending university. At that time, my mother had said she did not want to stay in the university's town. A few months after dating, my father told her that his landlord was evicting him because the apartment was needed for immediate family use. She offered him to stay while he found something else. Months passed and he was not doing anything. Then she got a job in another country. She told my father that he could take over her apartment or come with her. They had a huge fight where my mother told him that she was not ready for this type of commitment he wanted. She wanted different things in life than him and that as much as she loved him, they weren't compatible. They stayed living together and then one day she found out that she was pregnant. She told me honestly that she was thinking of not having me. She did not feel ready to be a mom at 22. She did not feel maternal feelings. She said she was already struggling with depression and late diagnosed ADHD. My father convinced her to have me. He said he would take me because he had a right to me. He would go after her because that baby was also his. So she had me. She said the time after birth was really bad. My father was dragging out legal procedures. He refused to vacate the home. My mother said that while she felt love for me and that there were moments where she felt overjoyed, it was overshadowed by huge waves of suicidal ideation. She was scared that she was going to hurt me. She also showed me some of the court documents of the time that backed up her claims. In the end, she was so desperate that she agreed to stay with my father if he agreed to be the main caretaker. He did, but only half-assed. My mother told me that it got so bad that she tried to commit suicide around my second birthday after a particularly nasty fight where my father admitted to having tampered with her birth control. She showed me the papers of the involuntary 72 hours commitment and the legal documents where she found unfit to be a parent afterward. I felt nauseous after all of that. I would not have believed her had she brought so much evidence with her. She then asked what I meant in my message that we were struggling. I told her that we were not exactly rich and that I was struggling to come up with the money to go to university in another city. She was bewildered and asked me what my father had been doing with the monthly payments she was making. I told her that we don't receive that money. Then she took out a stack of papers. Guys, she is sending child support every month. It is almost $3,000 every month. She is court mandated to pay me $1,500, but she doubled the payments out of her own will. She doesn't have to pay that amount. She wants to. She was very concerned about this and told me that she would talk to her lawyers ASAP to transfer the money to me directly. In the end, she apologized to me. She is very sorry to have put me through this. She was very sorry for not being stronger and she was very sorry for letting me grow up the way I did. She was crying. I was crying. She then told me to take my time. She wouldn't contact me again regarding the payments and that it was up to me if I wanted to see her again. That she couldn't be the mother I wanted, but the least she could do was help me with anything that I need. I hugged her. I cried. She cried. I boxed up my food and she got me another Uber home. At home, my father was not there, so I went straight to bed and left early the next morning and I'm staying with my boyfriend. Whole life is a lie. I found court documents that confirmed that my mother had been physically assaulted by my father. Upon further research, I determined that my father spent 3 months in jail for the assault. That was when I was 4 years old, which would explain why I do not remember anything at all about that. I met with him a few days ago, and this is when I asked about child support, posing the question like, "Hey dad, did my mom ever give you child support for me?" He denied ever receiving child support, citing the courts will go easy on women. The same day I snooped around and found a stack of cash with over $5,000 in one of his drawers. I did have the data to the household account, but the $3,000 monthly payment was never figured in that account. Also, I scouted for withdrawals for more than $100 at a time that maybe could explain the $5,000 stack, which was only composed of $100 bills, and nada. I did in fact contact my mother after finding all of this out. I confronted her with the newfound information. She admitted that it was quite bad and she did fear for her life. My father apparently had friends in law enforcement that were following my mother and making her life impossible, giving her tickets for the most inconsequential stuff, pulling her over for random controls, everything possible to intimidate her or to find dirt on her. My father gave her the ultimatum of just signing over without a fight or he would make her and my life impossible. My mother told me that he had been abusing her since I was born, as early as 1 week postpartum. So when my father uttered the ultimatum, she felt hopeless and just tried to end it. It did not work, and after she was released, my father served her and battled for full custody. Because she was deemed unfit to parent, it was really easy for him. She told me the court actually went pretty hard on her. About a year after that, my mother attempted to establish visitation with me. She reached out to my father, who invited her over. He told her that she could be in my life if she agreed to be together with him again. My mother told him no, and then a fight ensued. That was the night he assaulted her. He assaulted her so badly that she wound up in the hospital. In the hospital, seeing her wounds, they had to report it. So he was sentenced to a year, but only served 3 months. At that time, custody of me was with my grandmother. My father resumed custody of me at the time of being released. I was able to corroborate all of this after reaching out to my aunt, who has not spoken to our family in 10 years. My aunt Mia basically documented my mother's abuse. She took pictures of her bruises and recordings of my father screaming and threatening her. She told me that she testified against my father in court and that she could back up everything my mother said because he did the same thing to her. I insisted on seeing the pictures and recordings. My aunt was resistant to this, but a part of me did not want to accept that this was reality. So yeah, my father is a monster.
So my divorce settlement is coming to a close, so I can finally tell the story. So the last time that my ex had ever cheated on me, it was after he'd already cheated on me. He'd come back begging, like, I love you, please be with me, and I gave him another chance, stupidly. But after his initial affair with this woman, this happened like 8 months later. It was like around Christmas. So he works interstate, so we're in constant communication. But one night he was being really weird. Like, he wouldn't answer my phone calls, he wouldn't answer my messages. He kept saying he was going in and out of range. By this point, I'd already been cheated on, so I was super suspicious of him. Anyway, after a few hours of this, me trying to call him, I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, I'll call you later, I'll call back, I'll call back. I'm like, you need to call me now, you need to message me now. And he's still not responding to me. And the idiot, this is how stupid he is. So we're a family, right? So we have all of our iPhones, all of our technology set up to the Find My iPhone system, like the family one. And I don't usually check it because I'm way too traumatized. On this night, I'm like, no, I need answers. Like, something is not right. So I jump on Find My iPhone. He's away for work, right? So he's meant to be on site on his campsite. He's not on his campsite. He's in this little small country town that is a couple of hours away from his campsite. There is no reason that he should be in this small country town. There is nothing there. There's like a pub and there is his mistress's house. So I get this address up and I'm like, I know that you're not at work. And he's like, I am at work. I don't know what you're talking about. He's like, I'm just doing a run. I have to pick up some parts. I'm like, nah, I know something's up. So I get one of my friends, one of my work friends. I'm like, call her. And we're both trying to call them at the same time. My friend's calling her, I'm calling him. And they're both hanging up at the exact same time. And at this point, I'm like, do I tell him that I've tracked him? Because then, like, that's just showing my cards. Like, he's going to turn off Find My iPhone. I won't be able to find him. But I'm like, nah, I have to tell him. I'm like, I know that you are in this place. Like, I've checked Find My iPhone and he's like losing it. He's like, you have me under surveillance. I can't believe this. You're so insecure. I can't deal with your anxiety. Like, have you full go at me? And then both their phones go off at the exact same time. And I'm at work. I'm meant to be at work. I'm meant to be working. Instead, I'm like having an emotional breakdown. I'm upstairs in the staff room. I'm just like, nah, I need evidence. I get this address that I got on Find My iPhone and then I get up Google Maps. I look on Google Maps. I look at this address. I screenshot the front of the street views of the front of the house. And then I go on realestate.com, which has pictures of the inside of the house from the last time it was sold. So I screenshot those also. Then, because I know the girl, because it's the girl he cheated on me with the last time, I go on her Instagram. But then I'm comparing these screenshots. I'm looking for distinctive parts of the house that will show that it is the exact same house that it is on the address that I found on Find My iPhone. But both their phones are off, right? So I don't have any communication with either of them. So I'm just sat up there for like hours matching and cross-referencing these photos. Straight off the bat, I find two very distinct things. So the wallpaper is the same. It matches. There's a fireplace. There's a fireplace that has like the little thing that's stuck to the roof, and that also matches. So I know in my head that this is the same house. So I screenshot this evidence. I've now got these images and I'm acting like a crazy person. Like, even my friends from work, they're just like, no, it's not the same, babe. It's not the same. I'm just like, oh my God, maybe it's not. Anyway, my friend takes me home. I stay at her house that night because I'm absolutely distraught. I cannot drive home. So I sleep at her house. Then in the morning, I get text from him like, oh my God, baby, I'm so sorry. I promise I wasn't there. It's not what you think. I feel really bad. This makes me not want to work away anymore. All the right things. Like, fully sucking up to me. Of course, I bought into all of it and I was still a bit unsure, but I wanted to believe him. Also, my friends were like, babe, I think that you're just overreacting. Like, I don't actually think that those things match from the pictures. So I'm like, okay, all right, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. But still, I asked my friend, I'm like, can you just message her, the other woman, and ask if she was with him on Saturday night? My friend messages her and she messaged back and she's like, no, I wasn't. I haven't spoken to him in X amount of months. Like, he absolutely wasn't with me. Can you just leave me alone? And I'm just like, okay, that's all I need. Because obviously she's the one that contacted me before when they were having an affair, like apologizing to me, saying I'm not a homewrecker. Like, I didn't know that he was married. So of course I thought she would tell me the truth this time. But anyway, I want to believe him. So I delete all these screenshots. I just get on with it. I just write it off as me being like hyper anxious because I've been cheated on before. Like, it's just trauma. It's just a trauma response. Anyway, almost a year later, he's just being off. Something feels weird. And then I just get this intuition to re-look into this whole situation. So I get the address back up because I saved it. And then I look at the front of the house. I just take pictures of all the surrounding areas from the front of the house and the side of the house. Then I go over to Instagram and I just screenshot any of the recent pictures that she's uploaded that I can compare between the two. There's this picture, and in the picture, there's this very distinct trellis. It's like a green and a white trellis. Her grandma sat at the front beside this trellis, and there's a very distinct back gate. And I'm like, I've seen this before. So I go back to Google Maps and I turn it around to the side of the street view. And there it is. It is the exact same trellis. It is the exact same side gate. There is no other explanation. There is no getting out of this. So I'm just like, oh, this dirty dog. And I'm not going to confront him because at this point, it's like, he is a liar. He's not going to tell me the truth. And I know she's a liar too, but I figured it's been a few months. There's a lot more chance that she's going to tell me the truth than he is. So I messaged her and I'm like, look, I don't have anything against you. I just want the truth. Was so-and-so at your house last December? She messaged me back almost immediately. She's like, hi, Lauren. Yeah, I'm really sorry, but I was with him that last December. I was like, oh my God. I was right the whole time. That whole time, it was the same wallpaper. It was the same fireplace. I've just gaslit myself into believing that he's not a lying, dirty, dirty dog. And as for her, like, why come and apologize to me the first time for sleeping with my husband if you're just gonna go do it again? And that's not even the worst part. This is the worst part. Right while he was doing this, on the night that he did this, it was literally 3 days after he knew that one of my close friends had died of breast cancer. Like, what? What is wrong with you?
I used to do a lot of unhinged shit when I was in high school. I literally made a new account to basically expose myself because everyone I knew from high school was on my old account. So anyways, basically if I didn't like you and I was in front of you in the hallways or I was sitting in front of you in class, I would basically like fart and then like walk away. Cause like no one would expect it to be like a bad bitch. So like I never really cared. And like it was more of like a, oh yeah, bitch, smell my fart, bitch. Yeah, ho. Like that was my whole mindset about it, which was kind of weird, not gonna lie. So I was having a friend that had boy troubles, and basically I gave this girl the idea to create a new account and see if he tries to get with the fake girl. Basically I got her from Pinterest, and like I started following all my friends like from high schools, like people that he would know. Mind you, this boy had like tons of girl best friends. If you know what I mean by that, you know what I mean. So yeah, the account had to be on my phone because like obviously like they're together, he goes to her phone, blah blah blah. So she basically told me to go forward with it and start following him while they were on FaceTime. So mind you, they were on FaceTime and I followed him, and then after that I texted him. Mind you, there was no post of her in his Instagram, like zero. Okay, so like I said, they were on FaceTime, right? And literally the moment I followed him and the moment I texted him, like she said that he went like completely silent. Like they were talking and then like he went completely silent. And then basically she was like, oh, what happened? Like what's wrong? And then he was like, nothing, you know what I mean? So yeah, it was just a back and forth like, oh, hey, where are you from? What are you doing? And then he texted me, how did you find me? And I said, oh, your homegirl told me to follow you. And then basically he's the type to like fucking be like, oh, give me a hug. Like, you know what I mean? Like those fucking weird ass dudes. So obviously he didn't think nothing of it. And then basically he was like, oh, like, let me call you. Let's go on FaceTime. Like, give me your number. So I had to like give him an excuse why we couldn't FaceTime, because I had to use a Google number. And then he started texting me on that number. Mind you, I already told this girl all of that, and she's very, very surprised and very upset. Like, and she was like, basically, let's see how far this dumbass is gonna go Like, let's see how far this dumbass is gonna go. That's how she was, basically. So 2 or 3 days passed by of basically the fake girl texting him, and she didn't say anything. Like, the strength on this woman. So basically, she had to hold her tongue. Like, she was powerful. Like, I could not do that shit. Like, I could not do that shit. So basically, we were just waiting until he was like, let's meet up. Because they were talking in the text message like that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he was like spinning some like game, I guess, to this fake ass girl. I also forgot to mention that we basically told him that we lived like an hour away at this different school, and if he wanted to meet her, that he had to like pick her up, and not pick her up, he had to meet her at a place. Like, how's he gonna pick her up because she's fake? We basically told him like, oh, she was like, oh, like, let's meet at our house, like, come to my house, come to my house. Like, that's what we basically said to him, and we sent him the address that was literally 2 hours away to a fucking Planned Parenthood. So guess what his dumbass did? He ended up fucking going to meet up with that bitch that's fucking fake and drove 2 fucking hours. Meanwhile, he doesn't even want to like pick up my original friend. He doesn't want to pick her up from her house. So yeah, we're basically, me and this girl, we were at her house and we were basically just laughing at him. Like, he was a dumbass bitch, basically. We were just basically laughing at him. And you know what he had the nerve to do? Literally after he fucking hit her up and was like, let me go pick you up. Let's go eat at Denny's. At Denny's, broke ass bitch, at Denny's. Basically, she fucking called him and was like, I know what you did, you fucking stupid ass little boy. You're fucking embarrassing. Like, blah, 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 cursing him out. As she should. As she fucking should. Basically, she told the whole fucking school this dumbass kid fucking drove 2 hours away to get with some fake ass bitch, blah blah blah, yada yada yada. And basically, everyone was making fun of him. So honestly, he got what he deserved, and I really hope that I can do that again to some dude, because like, I feel like that's just like refreshing, and it's like justified. Like, I'm a Libra, so like, Libra scale, justified. Exactly. More of the story is bad bitches will forever find out, and bad bitches.
This is how people snuck into our wedding and ate $700 worth of dinner. First off, we did have security there for reasons like this, / just if people tried to come who weren't invited, and we paid him $1,000 to basically do absolutely nothing. I gave them a full guest list of everybody that was going to be there, and I told them to mark off names, and obviously that never happened. So the ceremony happens, cocktail hour happens, and now we're going to the reception after all of our bridal party and Ryan and I's entrance, and they're starting to serve Ryan and I's food. So we go and we sit down, and I look up and I see these 2 girls walking towards a table of 2 empty seats, and basically along the lines of asking the people at that table if anybody's sitting there. So when I saw them, I tapped Ryan. I was like, we don't know those girls. I was like, I know for a fact that we've never seen them before. Why are they here? He basically just told me it's not a big deal. Maybe somebody just brought +1s and felt bad about asking. Just let's not make it a big deal. So I was like, okay, whatever. I just want to enjoy my freaking meal. By the way, we had steak and lobster tail. We decided to upgrade the dinner because we wanted to have a really nice dinner that was really yummy. And so with that upgrade, it was $350 per plate, which was fine for everybody who was actually invited. So anyways, we eat, they eat, and about an hour and a half goes by, and actually a family member ended up coming up to Ryan and I and basically telling us that they watch us and that they've been basically watching every single thing that we've been doing for the past week and knew everybody that was at our batch week trip. The reason why I know that they didn't cross off any of the names off the guest list is because those 2 girls used 2 names that they knew were gonna be at the wedding that were on our batch trip. So used 2 fake names, came in, really, ate dinner, sat down, like they were fully dressed up in dress and heels and everything. As soon as Ryan found out, he had to go get the security and go get them escorted out. Then I go change into my second look. I'm waiting for my entrance song to come on, and I see the security guard walking the two girls out, and she tries to stop and explain herself to me. Whenever I was like, I'm not dealing with this, but you know what you did was weird. And my maid of honor was standing next to me, and she just had a conversation with her. And the craziest part is the fact that Ryan and I actually knew who she was, and she went and blocked the both of us on Instagram so we couldn't message her afterwards. We had 2 more groups after that get in, and Ryan actually had to go tell the security guard to escort them out.
My husband has a girl best friend and I hate it. Story time. My husband Steve has a best friend who we'll call Amy, and they have known each other their whole life. They're like childhood best friends. In the past, I've overheard Steve say that he owes Amy his life. He's told me before that they got together when they were in high school, but nothing else has ever happened. Now, I have never really been Amy's biggest fan, but I'd say a turning point for me was when Steve decided to have Amy as his best woman at our wedding. I feel like Amy's definitely the definition of a pick-me girl. I never ever thought I'd be this girl, but I've asked Steve to cut Amy out of his life multiple times. But he said that he didn't think this was a necessary move. Everything did get a little bit better last year when Amy got married, and this relationship moved pretty quick. They were married and pregnant within 4 months of dating. Now, unfortunately, the guy did up and leave Amy when she was pregnant, and this made her mental health spiral, as you can imagine. And it was also when Amy and Steve's relationship started to get a little bit closer. Steve, my husband, started to take Amy to her midwife appointments. Next thing you know, he's building the nursery, and he even promised that he would be there at the birth of the baby. So as you can imagine, I've now got some pretty strong feelings towards Amy. So I expressed all of this to Steve, and he said as a sorry he was going to book me a really fun birthday day. He called it like my celebrity day. We had a really nice hotel booked, an expensive meal, but it just so happened that Amy went into labour 6 weeks early. At this point, I'd had enough, and I was like, babe, this is my day, okay? Please do not let this other woman ruin it for me. And that was when Steve told me to grow up and stop being so childish. He said that we can celebrate another day, or I could ask one of my friends to come with me. I told him to not bother coming home unless he had a paternity test for that child. And just a couple of add-ons about Amy. Amy's husband actually left her because she cheated on him. And if you're thinking, why hasn't this girl got any friends to go to the birth with her, and why is she picking someone else's husband? It's because she gets with all of her friends' boyfriends. Literally all my family and all of his family think that this baby is his. And actually, next week I'm going on my birthday celebration with Steve's mum. And your mum actually said that she wishes that I had been her child and not you. Have fun with your new family, babe.
I just had to pull over because I just got the most shocking text message of my life, I think. All the text says is, hey, but let me set the scene. So it's about 3 years ago, and I am kind of seeing this guy, we're hooking up, whatever, fun dude, and we go out for a night with our friends, get shit-faced at the bar, and I go home with him, and we, and then I go to sleep, and I sleep like a little baby. But I am not a girl who tracks her menstrual cycle at all. And when she comes like a vengeful bitch in the night. And she decided to make a grand entrance while I was butt-ass naked in this dude's bed. And it was one of those periods where it's like, wow, really letting everything go. Really shedding that lining. And so I wake up and I'm like, something's wrong. Something isn't right here. And I'm looking down and I'm like, whoo. I'm talking crime scene, like blood everywhere. I'm not wearing anything because we had just, had intercourse. And so I get up and I go to the bathroom, and this man has no toilet paper. Like, how fucking despicable and nasty. And no paper towels. Nothing. Not even a hand towel I could, attempt to do something with. A bare ass bathroom with some razors and I do what any sane woman would do, and I get on my phone and I call an Uber because I can't face this man. This is too much. We don't know each other like that. That's no. And when I tell you I left in the biggest hurry, I left my clip-in extensions on the floor of his room. And those were expensive. And never spoke to him again until just now when I get a text at 10:41 p.m. Hey. What do you want from me? A new mattress? I'm not getting you one.
My ex tried to get me fired, so I got him fired instead. Story time. So I was just having a bit of fun with this guy called Steve, and he wanted it to get a little bit more serious. I mean, why wouldn't he? Look at me, I'm a catch. I had just come out of a really serious relationship, so I was not in the mood to get into anything anytime soon. And in response, Steve called my work. He spoke to my manager and he tells my manager that I'm a total, lazy girl. I steal from the store. I go into work hungover literally every weekend. And my manager, who we'll call Alan, was just on the other end of the phone okay, babe. He quickly shut the call down, and then when I came into work later that day, he was absolutely howling about it. He was telling me that in response to what Steve was saying, he was like, she doesn't steal from us, and even if she did come in hungover, so do I, babe, so what are you trying to prove? So even though I wasn't in trouble, I was still absolutely raging at Steve. And Alan was like, listen, we're quiet, why don't you just call his work? Alan then puts the shop phone in my hand and goes, do it, ruin him. I considered my options. I did not want to be like a bitter person who was out to get revenge and ruin anyone's life. But then just as I was about to put the phone down, my phone starts blowing up and it's Steve. He is hurling all of this abuse at me and I'm like, let's do it. So in the most Karen way, I dialed his work and I asked to speak to the manager. So when she came to the phone, I started to tell her how I'd been into the fast food restaurant the day before. And there was a young guy behind the till who had been hitting on me. I said, towards the end of our interaction, he had asked for my number. And when I declined giving it to him because I said I had a boyfriend, literally his whole demeanour changed towards me and he became quite volatile. And at this point I was like, let's have some fun. I said that, yeah, I told him I didn't want to give him my number because I had a boyfriend and he called me a lying, sleazy little bitch. He said, and after that interaction, I will no longer be a customer of yours. And the manager was like, I'm so sorry about this. Can you give me any details so I can work out who the employee was? And I was like, right, best acting skills. I paused for dramatic effect and I said, I think his name might have been Steve. She then went on to say that I didn't need to worry about Steve talking to other women like that ever again. And I was like, bingo. And I said, that's great to hear because I can only imagine if he speaks to me like that, he's obviously probably spoken to other women like that before in your establishment. And after that, I put down my phone, I high-fived Alan, and I went on with my shift. So the next day, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of forgot about the whole thing. And then I get a load of texts from Steve. And he is now moaning about the fact that he got fired. Well, isn't that just a shame, Steve?
This is your trigger warning for a poop story. Am I the asshole for not pooping in the designated pooping bathroom while on vacation with family? Wife and I just returned from a vacation with my sister, brother-in-law, and their kids. One of the first things my sister did was choose for everyone which bathroom the adults should use for pooping purposes. The Airbnb was a nice house with multiple bathrooms, and she picked one at the far end of a hallway away from the kitchen and living room. Okay, that made sense to me, and I didn't see a problem. Until I had to poop. I entered the designated bathroom and saw the dreaded round toilet seat. I absolutely hate round toilet seats. It feels like I have to choose between pooping on the back rim of the seat or moving forward and having my junk touch the porcelain. There is just not enough front to back clearance for a comfortable position. In a pinch, I will use one. When you have to go, you have to go. But I've been known to hold it until I got home to my elongated toilet if it wasn't dire. But the other toilets were elongated seat toilets, much more comfortable for a man to use. So I chose the bathroom appropriate for me and used it. The rest of the adults in the house are looking at me like I made a faux pas by stinking up a, quote, non-pooping bathroom. What the fuck, I said? Why did we pick a house with 3 bathrooms then if we are only going to poop in one? Or we make elongated toilet the pooping bathroom. The elongated bathroom is closer to the kitchen, etc. So nobody wanted that. The ladies didn't understand my objection to a round seat. Understandable, given our anatomies differ. My brother-in-law did, but he says he has no problem using a round seat, but could understand me. In the end, it didn't really dampen the vacation vibe or cause any strife. Just jokes or eye rolling about me stinking up the place. My sister is prim and proper, so I knew she would have preferred it her way, and I think she just bit her tongue for the sake of peace. But I have to wonder, is this a thing? Designating a pooping bathroom in a house? And my hatred of round toilet seats? Question mark. Am I the asshole?